Jazz put a good little fright into the Denver Nuggets before Jamal Murray's three-point barrage negates a stoic performance from Utah. We're talking about it next on POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
David Locke along with Ron Boone as the Utah Jazz lose their 13th straight and their 24th, their last 27. And the list of players not playing extends to Colin Sexton tonight, who was out with an illness. His quest for 82 games comes to an end. It might be the last time we see Colin now at that point. We'll see if he gets healthy by the time we play on Thursday. But the Jazz, with a roster that only had two players on NBA rosters at the end of last season, stayed after getting blasted early, has been the case in most of these games. Down 17 at the end of one. They actually never went down 17 again the rest of the night. Stayed in it, battled pretty hard, and I thought, made Jokic play the fourth quarter, made Murray play the fourth quarter, and may have had an impact on the Western Conference #1 seed, because now Denver had to put out a lot of effort to go play Minnesota tomorrow in the biggest game of the Western Conference.
Well, I think Mike Malone said it, and he's absolutely right about teams that like this, guys trying to play for contracts, guy trying to play for playing time the next game or the next night or whatever. And, sometimes you get your best outing, for some of those players. And so he thought that, we got to be careful, even though this is a very young basketball team.
And Denver impressively came out with full focus. I mean, they just blasted Utah early, really came after them, led it 34-17 at the end of one. And then Utah just whittled. And then Jamal Murray hit 3 threes in a row late. It got down to handoffs with Jokic, two-man game with Jokic. And when we asked both Will Hardy and Michael Malone before the game, when I asked them the fact that I think they've played 2,700 pick and rolls and about 1,800 handoffs together, what is it where does that become most obvious? Both Michael Malone and Will Hardy answer was late game. We didn't get to that clutch time. They're 32 or 26 and 13 in the clutch this year, but it was 8 points. It was kind of, it was in the balance a little bit, and those two guys, Jamal Murray made the plays tonight.
Well, you just see they read each other very, very well. Jamal Murray is not one of those guys that just sit and wait for the ball to come to him. He does move without the basketball, and I think that really helps and complements the passing ability of Jokic. I mean, because even though they run a lot of pick and rolls, they can still read each other very, very well. Let me go back to the first quarter, because they outscored the Jazz 34-17. And if I remember correctly, that was not without a lot of three-point field goals in that
they did not. They had 4 of 8 from 3. They did not have a free throw.
Yeah, okay, and not without a free throw. And the Jazz, for the most part, have been giving up in that first quarter about 51% from the three-point line, and that's not good. So I was a little surprised that there was no free throws. I just can't believe that.
All right, so here's the crazy thing. Jokic has 28 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists. I thought the Jazz plan on him was pretty good, and I thought generally Yurtseven and the double teams, they forced 5 turnovers tonight. I thought they actually did a pretty good job on him tonight.
Yeah, and again, I was watching that, and sometimes it was the second guy removed that was double. That last time in the fourth quarter, it came with the third guy removed from Jokic, and he got confused and ended up getting a steal, slapping the basketball out of his hand. The Jazz ended up running for that. But for the most part, I guess that's what you have to do to a player like that, because he'll pick you apart.
So the Jazz trailed at 34-17. Then Talen Horton-Tucker had 14 second quarter points. Jazz actually cut it to within 5 at that point. THT did this last year at the end of the year with some big number games, and seems to probably relish what he gets to do here for the next 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, he'll probably spend a lot of time on the floor. He was 10 for 22 tonight in 32 minutes. Hadn't spent that much time on the floor in a long time. As a matter of fact, he's had a lot of DNPs, but tonight got a chance to spend a lot of time on the floor. 24 points, more points than he's had in quite some time. But from this point on, we got 3 ball games left, and with 2 of them on the road, that's what we're going to see.
It's interesting. Will Hardy made an interesting comment before the game I asked him about the rookies and how they're performing, in the sense that Will talked about them kind of playing, just to survive. He said, well, they're starting. And it's such a different game when you start, because you're going up against the best guys. And I thought that was really obvious with Johnny Juzang tonight.
Yeah.
Johnny Juzang played off the bench the other night in Golden State, kind of surprised them, came out of nowhere, had 6 threes. Tonight, he couldn't buy a look.
Couldn't
he
get
just
one.
couldn't even, I mean, he got 8 shots off, but he couldn't get looks off. Like, Denver's defense, which is the second best team in the league in denying three-point shots, was just not going to give him any room. And it was really a dramatic sign to me of how different your life is if you start or if you come off the bench.
Yeah, of course, you're playing against the best. It's again, I'm just repeating what Will says, that it's a big difference in starting and playing against someone else's starting 5 when you're basically a 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th man.
Jazz really only played 8 guys tonight, which is interesting. Preston played 6 minutes, but everybody else played, Taylor, 20 minutes for Bryce Sense, about 21 for Taylor Hendricks. I mean, Will limited them a little bit. Taylor got the first pull tonight early in the game when I think he didn't execute some things correctly. I think the window for 30 minutes because you were drafted in the first round of the draft pick is over. I think you're going to have to earn your minutes the final 3 games of the year.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think it for the most part, it should be. And basically, I think that's what we're going to see. I mean, even guys like Omer and Somonix, who's been sitting all season long, spent a lot of time on the floor tonight, and they deserve some minutes. They deserve some minutes. And then, I don't know, I think at one time, Will wanted to play Somonix and
right
that pull.
All right. I think those guys are playing for contracts.
Yes.
These are employment games for those guys. This matters. Like Yurtseven, I don't believe we signed to a 2-year deal. I'd have to check what his status is, and Somonich was had an out. We had to pick up his option throughout the year this year. So these guys are trying to prove that they belong in the NBA and can play NBA minutes. When for Yurtseven to go against Jokic, that's a pretty good tape for him right now. And that has been the book on Yurtseven this whole time. Just the ultimate professional, and he showed exactly that tonight. Yeah,
didn't shoot a great. Well, he had a pretty good percentage at 9 for 14, but more impressively, at 11 rebounds, 4 of those coming on the offensive glass. And did he make Jokic work? Yes, Jokic wasn't able to use that big body on him and push him around as much. So yes, he looked okay.
It was interesting. Will changed the way he used Somonich. Somonich played on the outside, didn't look particularly good, has a hard time with some shots, and then kind of fed him after he missed a bunch of close ones early, fed him in the fourth on some switches and in some matchups in the post in the third and fourth quarter, and he got himself up to 15 points and 11 rebounds today.
Yeah, it's guys like that. Even though you lose, you go home and feeling pretty good about yourself where you played. Especially you look at the rebounds. I rebounded well. Then you start reliving in your mind, because I think both of those guys missed some little chippies, some little shots close to the basket, and you start reliving that in your mind. You'll go home and relive those little shots and say, "Man, I could have shot a great percentage tonight." Not so much that he got 15 points, but obviously they made those little chippies. Probably got more points than that, but you're still thinking about those little shots that you normally make that didn't go in.
All right, well, this one's not an easy one. On your stars for the night, I think I know the 2, but I want to see what you're going to do tonight.
There's 3 guys I think that probably, obviously Tucker off the bench, and you got Luka and you got Omer. That's what I was thinking.
You're not going Jason Preston for being +8 in the 6 minutes?
No, not tonight.
13 of 13 from the free throw line, Lacey wants to point out tonight.
No. Yeah, how about that? Okay.
They only shot 11.
After not hardly shooting any free throws in the first half.
Boston and Milwaukee tonight had a game with 2 free throws. The whole game. Crazy. All right, Ron, what are you doing?
Well,
Omer and Talen?
Yeah, let's go Omer and Taylor. Boy, I want to give Somonix, something. He gets a chance to spend that amount of time on the floor, and 11 big rebounds, 3 assists. 15 points, a new season high. Omer had a new season high there as well.
Talen did have 5 turnovers. Keontae had 5 turnovers.
Yeah, but he was the one that kept us in the ball game, gave us a chance to.
If you like your quarter, you always like the guy who takes over a quarter. Taylor,
and Taylor was the one.
That.
So that would be Taylor, and let's go Taylor and Omer.
Talen, not Taylor.
Talen.
Yeah.
And Omer.
Talen and Omer are your stars tonight. That is Locked on Jazz's postcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will bring you Thursday night, our final one from the arena, as the Jazz will play the Rockets. Tickets are available. Come on out for that one. And right now, we send you the first ever 24/7 national sports stream, Locked On Sports Today. It's also available on Amazon Fire. Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today.